I think we need to explain why we're talking about the first three awards as a composite, and I think we were clear about we were not comparing and judging on a criterion that was about all the projects together, but we did talk about each one individually. And I think we enjoyed the contrast of scale and the difference in scale. The one thing that these three projects had in common was the relationship to nature, the excellent detailing, and the general follow-through of the idea.
Absolutely.
And I feel like starting with the two projects on the narrow sites, they are both extremely good at layering the interior spaces to the exterior spaces with a series of planes that are diaphanous or materially based, but somehow related to what the outside is bringing in.
The Wolf Den house, which uses a screening device through which you see on a kind of even and regular basis, and then the one in the trees, the house in the trees, which slices off the view just below where you would get the ground plane, so you really do feel like you're suspended in space a lot of the time. What's
such an interesting effect.
It's an incredible effect. And then the large house on the lake, the retreat on the lake, is so brilliant at realizing that there are multiple scales in the landscape. It creates its own internal landscape with a marvelous courtyard which precedes and foreshadows the tremendous view that'll come when you look out at the lake beyond it. Another thing that deserves mention about that house, about the house on Lake Travis, is personally I believe a lot of architects lose control on these big houses. They just become these giant, scaleless, kind of sloppy assemblages of rooms. And this one, the architect has broken it down into very manageable sizes of spaces and used the pieces of it to shape an exterior space, a controlled exterior space in that courtyard that contrasts with the scale of the rooms on the inside, so that that person never really loses control of the project. It's very rare to see that.
Once you're inside each one of these projects, that you're in another world, and regardless of whether you're on a magnificent site on a lake or whether you're sort of boxed into an urban infill site, there is that experience of nature and garden and dappled light through leaves and fresh air, etc.
And there's a modesty about all three of them, even the great big one. There's a modesty, there's a formal modesty there about all three of them, particularly the two in town, which are basically bar buildings, which architects love because it's such a great perspective view. But also that modesty, I think, is from a sincerity. You see it reflected in the plan as well. This is about simple spatial volumes intersecting and not trying to overwhelm themselves or each other or competing with what's around them. It's really about urbanity. These are very urbane compositions. All the way through these houses, they succeed by not overwhelming, almost by underwhelming you, and then surprising you with the sophistication of their detailing and their finished work.
I think we need to emphasize that we were very impressed at the level of detail, which is another way of saying the level of thoughtfulness.
Yes.
That all of it was important, not just the big picture, but the very small picture, which made the larger picture more meaningful.
Including how you pare away what one needs to live, but what you don't want to look at is a jumble of services and utilities, and the way that these were so carefully composed, it was just absolutely impeccable on all three.
Yeah, beautiful too.
I think when a house, or a building, let's just say when a building takes a stand for architecture and it says something, it communicates something to the outside world, to the community, and in a way it makes a promise that there's an attention to detail, there's an exceptional interest in spatial quality, and it says that from the exterior, and then you enter into these three projects and it totally fulfills its promise.
Yeah.